Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Terry. I'm the director of the StFX Art Gallery, and I'd like to welcome you all to tonight's virtual artist talk event featuring Kadeem Hinch. The StFX Art Gallery stands on Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which the Mi'kmaq, Maliseet, and Passamaquoddy people first signed with the British Crown in 1725. There was no surrender of land nor resources. These treaties facilitated peace and trade while guaranteeing Mi'kmaq and Maliseet the right to land use for hunting, fishing, and farming. Today, these treaties represent an ongoing and reciprocal relationship between the Mi'kmaq people and the Canadian state. I'd also like to take a minute and say that it's important for the gallery to express its support for all Ukrainians. Ukraine is a sovereign nation. Russia's invasion of a sovereign nation represents an attack on all democratic nations around the world. On behalf of the StFX Art Gallery, I'd like to say my thoughts are with those in the Ukraine and all those closer to home who are affected by these atrocities. To make this shift, to move beyond this acknowledgement of atrocities, to take that awareness, I'd like to shift and speak on behalf of the StFX Art Gallery and in collaboration with the StFX Black Student Advising Office, and say that we are very pleased to present tonight's virtual artist talk given by Kadeem Hinch. This special event is presented as a part of the exhibition Black Love, Joyful Lessons. This virtual exhibition features the work of over 20 artists who have shared poetry, spoken word, videos, paintings, photographs, and so much more. Bringing these artworks together, Black Love, Joyful Lessons foregrounds Black voices, experiences, and creative excellence. The artworks support and celebrate Black joy, Black love, healing, freedom, and self-determination. This exhibition is on for its final week from now till Saturday, March 5th. And so visitors can see all the artworks on the gallery's social media pages, the videos on the gallery's website, and the artworks are being projected on screens in buildings across StFX campus, buildings such as Mulroney Hall and Bloomfield Center, in which I am currently located. I'd like to take a moment and recognize each of the artists, because without you, this exhibition would not be possible. The artists featured in this show who have contributed works are Wakanda Walia, Mark Carvery, Amanda Carvery-Taylor, Nasha Cunningham, Jaleese Desmond, Maya England, Christian Giroux, Tynesha Giroux, Dwayne Jones, Sharon King, Jasonique Moss, Corey Pelly, Leah Pink, Lorraine Reddick, Tara Reddick, Sabrina Skinner, Cedric Smiley, Silas Smiley, Sina Smiley, Shanae Williams, and Randon Wright. I'd also like to acknowledge, while she couldn't be here today because she is on leave, this exhibition has been made possible primarily with the work, guidance, and support of the StFX Black Student Advisor, Tara Reddick. I'd like to thank her for her leadership, guidance, and generosity. And I'd also like to thank the contributing artists as well as their supporters for trusting the gallery and the StFX Black Student Advising Office to care for and share your work. It is greatly appreciated. I will eventually turn the virtual floor over to one of the contributing artists, Jasonique Moss, who will in turn introduce Kadeem as the artist speaking. But first, I want to give a couple shout outs. I want to recognize and thank Kate McDonald, Cordina Clayton, and I, Tandy Monroe, the hosts of the podcast Black Scotian Black Art. These interdisciplinary artists, and I am quoting from their website, host rotating conversations with other Black artists to explore themes of healing, practice, and representation, often exploring subjects that institutions, systems, and spaces haven't easily held. I listened to their podcast And on the one of the episodes, I came to learn of and hear from Kadeem. And as Tara and I were talking about collaborating, I shared the podcast with her. And we were both struck by the collective joy, positivity, and creativity that came across in the collective conversations. And I encourage everyone, if you haven't heard this podcast, please go and listen. It's wonderful. I also want to say that I have been listening to and learning a great deal from Dwayne Jones, who is the host of the Art Pays Me podcast. He's been generous so as to contribute art to the Black Love Joyful Lessons exhibition. And he's also given this exhibition a couple of shout outs on a recent episode of his podcast, as well as on his social media feeds. I've greatly enjoyed listening to his podcast, Art Pays Me. And I'm quoting from his website, Art Pays Me podcast is a series of informal conversations between successful creatives of diverse backgrounds with Dwayne. Dwayne asks guests about the work they're known for, and how they got their start to explore the many ways possible to make a living off of art. Dwayne asks questions I myself would ask. The interviews are relaxing, they're insightful, and they're very engaging. And so I'd encourage people to give that a listen as well. And finally, I want to say, with all the artists who've been contributing works, I'd like to recognize the work of Amanda Carberry-Taylor. She's contributed a photographic diptych to the Black Love Joyful Lessons exhibition. And so I knew her name, I knew her work. And as I was visiting various stores here in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, I looked at the book selections and I came across her photographic series of essays, or a series of photographs, in a book called A Love Letter to Africville, which was published last year. It's this absolutely beautiful book filled with, and I'm quoting here, personal stories and photos from former residents of Africville. This book recasts the historical narrative, bringing together stories and reflections of former residents with portraits of those sharing their stories. As the book back states, quote, this book is a warm hug from one of Canada's most important storied communities, unquote. And that love that comes across, I hope, comes across in not only Amanda's work, but the collective work shared that are being shared across campus. And with that said, I am going to turn the floor over to Jasonique Moss.
Thank you. So, hello, my name is Jasonique Moss, hailing from Nassau, Bahamas. I'm a fourth year forensic psychology student. My pronouns are she, her, and I often refer to myself as a small girl with big dreams. The two artworks I contributed to the exhibition was the Mother's Love piece and Souls in the Sky. For Souls in the Sky was a piece that I felt commemorated the spirit of loved ones we've lost and how through the sky we're always connected to them. And for A Mother's Love, it's a piece I hold very close to my heart when pondering the highs and lows associated with becoming a mother, the grandiosity of stepping into that role as you're not only ushering a human life into this world, but also responsible for the way that that human is going to contribute to this world. And it takes a whole lot of love to do that. Our guest speaker, Kadeem Hinch, is a full-time graphic designer based in Halifax, Nova Scotia. He's acquired years of experience bringing his design and artistic skills to bear on an astonishing array of projects. Recently, he was a guest speaker on the Black Scotian Black Art Unfinished Work podcast, hosted by Kig McDonald, Cordina Clayton, and Itati Munro. It's on the podcast that he touches on his journey in discovering his passion, what inspirations came about during the pandemic, and his advice to young Black artists to remove the doubt and believe in yourself.
Is it me? Sorry. Hi,
yes,
everyone. Yes. Hi, everyone. I am Kadeem Hinch. It's good to see all of you. I'm a graphic designer in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And I've just been doing graphic design for about, I would say, over a decade now. It's been a very interesting journey, but I'm very excited to be here to talk to you about it. And some of the lessons that I've kind of learned as I've gone through high school, college, and working for government, and just doing freelance and some of the stuff that I've learned. So I'm excited to talk to you today. I guess where I'll sort of start is how I kind of got started with art and everything like that. I wasn't really, when I was in elementary school, the main thing for me was I didn't really know I was into art until I started to see sort of my friends doing art. And I guess really, one of my friends, she was drawing full figured characters and people. And that was like my first introduction into what art was. And I was very fascinated by what she was doing, to the point where I started copying her and seeing what she was doing and tracing and coming up with ideas and she was helping me out to sort of get there. And as I sort of was copying her, I kind of found my own thing with art and really started doing life drawings. I started doing sketches of like tree branches, because I was like, if I can do this, what else am I capable of doing? So I really just started, kind of emulating stuff I saw around me. And after that, I went to high school. And for the most part, when I was in high school, I applied for every art thing that I could honestly find. Like I applied for art class. I was doing digital art class, which I had never really seen in high school before. That was new. So I applied for that. I was doing all the creative stuff that I could do in high school. And when I got to grade 12, my teachers and my sort of faculty were just like, so what are you gonna do now? And I didn't really know what to do, like after I kind of graduated, or I didn't really know what I was gonna do. I didn't want to go to university. There's just too much like stuff going on with that. And I was like, I don't really see art there at Dalhousie and things like that the way I want to pursue it. And my counselor actually suggested I go to NSCC, which I was like, all right, cool. I didn't really know what to take there though. So I went to my mom and I asked her, and she suggested, photography. Your uncle, used to do photos and stuff like that. I was like, sure, I'll do that. And so I got like my uncle's camera, I think. I just started taking photos of my cat and just doing all kinds of stuff, making a portfolio. And I submitted that. And after I submitted that, they kindly got back to me and was like, your portfolio is cute, but maybe I'm gonna try something else a little bit. And they offered me to do the applied arts program, which was, a bit of everything that they kind of teach you: photography, design, film and video. And I should probably move around on my slides here. And so this is a bit of photography these aren't the photos that I've taken when I submitted my portfolio. These are pretty much Instagram photos, but they're just a little, I like photography, but for me, it was when I got into the applied arts program, I realized how technical it was. And it just wasn't something, it wasn't letting me be creative in the way that I wanted to be. I had to work with apertures and stuff like that. And I was like, it's like math. I don't know if I can do that. And so I quickly fell off on photography, and I really started honing in on graphic design. I was like, okay, so I have art that I love, and I also have technology that I really love, and you can kind of combine the two together to create sort of this like thing that I didn't really know existed. I knew graphic design existed, and it was never a thought in my head that, oh my God, I can like do this. And so my teachers who were doing the applied arts program were also the graphic design teachers. They encouraged me to take the graphic design course. And so that's when I was like, all right, I'll do that. And at the time, that was a 1-year program, and they kind of pushed everything that 1 year. And I honestly did not pass because there was like, they were just trying to shove everything into 1 year. And so I didn't pass. But while I took a break from school, I started doing freelance. Wow, just like, just a side hustle and whatnot while I was working until I decided to go back to school and really do it again. And so, and then I went back to school when it became a 2-year program and they had more fleshed out what the program was and whatnot. And so we kind of got into design there. And I think for me, when I went back to school, it was like everything kind of clicked because I had this, sort of starting freelance experience of there, getting ripped off left, right, and center by everyone. I learned a lot of hard lessons when I first started freelancing way back when. And coming back to school after I had learned those lessons really helped because it made a lot of sense going forward when I came back to NSCC to do the course again. And I learned so much. And I think I had a bit of an advantage when I got there. I had a bit of real world experience and I kind of knew what I was doing a little bit more. But yeah, these are some of the stuff that I've worked on. So some of the assignments in here, I wish I could show you everything that I had. I couldn't even find my jump drive, but these are just a few things that I found on Flickr that I posted like years ago. But this is like early letter forms, something that our teachers taught us. Like, I forget what the assignment was exactly. I think it was, we had to take a letter from the Greek alphabet and we had to form them in 3 different ways with font and type. And so that's kind of like, so this is some examples of what that looked like. And I chose Zeta. And just this was sort of the start with playing with Illustrator and Adobe stuff and really, experimenting and getting into illustration was really fun too. And we just played a lot. We just like the teachers at NSCC really taught us to really use the environment around us when we are designing, which is something I don't take for granted today. I feel like we're in a day and age right now where technology is kind of taking over. Like, I can't remember the last time I stepped foot into Sayers to grab some like ink or some paint. I have an iPad that can do all that for me, which is crazy to think about this today. But yeah, these are some assignments that I've worked on when I was in school. This was an illustration I did. This is like all made with colored pencil. And these are just some projects that I had, using product design and stuff like that, doing double page spreads. We learned a lot in school. My teachers, Chris McManus and Rob Hansen, they honestly are geniuses in the design field. They gave us the tools and equipment to really go into the world of design and really sort of, be prepared for what's out there. And I have to thank them a lot. This assignment here, so another assignment that we worked on it was called a blob assignment. So we had to make ink blobs essentially, and we had to create different moods with our blobs. And we had to like create like a sad blob or a curious blob or an angry blob. And so I think I created like an angry blob. And then once we created those blobs, we had to pick one and put some context to it and turn it into something. So I turned mine into a movie poster. And this is how it kind of turned out. Yeah, and same here, so using like ink to sort of create double page spreads and things like that. And just really, taking, this was what do you call it? I can't even think right now, but it was a music assignment where we had to take a TV show and turn it into artwork for like a music cover. And so I chose American Horror Story and creating some poster work for a cat ad. This was a fun project because we had to do a cat ad for an adoption, but we couldn't have a cat in the ad or a picture of a cat. So we had to show another way of how we would present that to somebody and how they would get it. And we had to pick a demographic. So I think this demographic was like a millennial, someone around my age who is like single, living alone, wants a cat, it's very into Instagram and stuff like that. And so I kind of went with this idea, which I had a lot of fun making. And we do like basic stationery stuff for school. And this is probably one of my funnest projects, just doing some music art for some artists. I think that's like my goal in life, is to just make cover art for like just musical artists. I think that's pretty dope. Okay, so so for this project here, and if there are students here, I encourage everybody to do this. I think it's the best thing to do if you're going to a job interview. So our teachers instructed us, because we were going to do work terms, and they said to us, when you go to an interview, you should give the interviewer a leave behind, which is something that they'll give you to remember them by, like to remember you by when you leave the interview. And so people had all kinds of fun ideas in class. Some people had sock puppets. Some people had their own personalized trading cards, just a lot of cool ideas. I didn't really know what I was going to leave behind. I didn't know what to do. So I was like, why don't I just, leave myself behind, And so I made this thing called Build a Kadeem, which you assemble me. And you just open my business cards in there and whatnot. And I thought it was a really fun idea. And I encourage any student to do anything like it. Just do something fun and creative, and just it'll give you that extra push in that interview when you're looking for a job. They'll really think about what it is, like what you've done. And I encourage everybody to do it. Please do it. And so I guess after that, I was trying to figure out, well, at the end of the year, we're getting close to the end of the year, actually. I was trying to figure out where I was going to go for my work term. I didn't really know what was going to go on. A lot of the students were getting agency jobs and whatnot. And my teacher was like, you know what, Kadeem, I think you would be great for government. And I was like, what? It wasn't really a thing. It wasn't my first choice. I wasn't really dead set on that. I had an idea in my head of like what government was gonna be like. And so I just thought it was gonna be like the most boringest thing. I thought it was just gonna be, at a desk, shoved in the back, just doing paperwork or doing something. And so I was a bit hesitant when they sent me to do government. But I ended up, when I got there, honestly, doing the work term for government was something that kind of was life-changing for me. I think it was perfect timing is the best way to describe it. When I first got there, I feel like government was going through a change in itself. They were looking for, some fresh ideas and new stuff. And it was really great that when I got there, they were very receptive to the stuff that I had to offer. And it was really, honestly, probably one of the best work terms I could have ever asked for, because it was so great to have people like really take you seriously and take your ideas seriously. And they could have easily just been like, oh, here you go, desk at the back of the room, sit there for like 5 weeks and then I'd be gone. But they really made it a point to incorporate me in everything that was going on in government. And it turned out to be one of the best work terms that I had done. Well, the only work that I've done. But, so these are some of the work that I've done for government over the work term and over the years, really, that I've been there. I've been working for government for about, I want to say, 5 years now, over 5 years. They haven't gotten rid of me, so it's too late now. But so this is some of the work that I've done. When I first started to do government, I was very scared because I knew that they had a brand, they had an identity. I didn't want to shift away from that. I was very afraid too. But as I got more comfortable, you'll see, I started to really kind of take the brand and then started making it my own. And these are just some of the projects that I kind of worked on while I was working in government. Some cool stuff here. I got to work on a license plate. That was pretty dope. I never really got to do anything like that before. They had a lot of weird projects that they have you do, and it was just awesome to do some cool stuff there. I got to do the logo for the Pride Network there. That was pretty spectacular. That was a big project that they trusted me to do. They allowed me to do some really cool stuff. In the first year that I was even there, they allowed me to do some really awesome projects while I was there. Culture Action Plan is another project that I got to work on, which was really cool to sit in a meeting with all these huge people, listening to me express my ideas to them, and them really being receptive and responding. Government, it was another level it was another level awesome. And then, as you can see here, I kind of just threw the brand away and kind of started doing my own thing. And they like that, and I really appreciate that they let me do my own thing, and they still let me kind of just do my own thing when it comes to design. And this is another report I got to work on. And this was some of the latest stuff that I've been doing with COVID. We got to do this project that was for the Super Bowl, I think a couple years ago. And they basically, for this one, everybody who's gathering, just be cautious and stuff like that. And so that was a cool project that we got to work on. I had a fun time making that as well. Now, so when I got into freelance is a weird journey because it was kind of an off and on journey for me. And as I said in the beginning, I started freelance when I didn't finish school the first time around, I started doing freelance. And it was rough because I didn't know anything. And after I got out of school and I graduated, and government hired me on, I kind of just was like, well, I got this job now, let me just take a break. I have a steady paycheck. All right, cool. Let's just let it die down for a bit. And so I kind of took a break for a little while. And then I slowly realized how much I really kind of missed doing freelance. I missed working with clients in the community. And that's how I kind of started. I was starting to do, my main goal for freelance was to just help people out in the community who needed design work and who needed affordable design work. And so that was my main thing. And I missed connecting with those people. And so after a year into working with government, I decided, I was like, okay, I think it's time to start this back up again. And I've gone through several rebrands throughout this entire experience. But what was I gonna say? So after I decided to start doing my freelance again, I started getting a few things here and there. But it wasn't until the pandemic when I really was able to fully dive into freelance, because we're working from home now. And so I have an opportunity to sort of, get the gears running on it, and, sort of having meetings and chatting with people and really get to know people. And I just started doing a lot of stuff with, so this was my first, I'll go back to the other slide, but this was like my first sort of freelance design project in the pandemic. And this is what really kind of got the ball rolling moving forward. I was working with Open Studio Series, Connect Studios, and people that were working there, you know, really liked what I had to offer. And they were kind of just like, you know, telling other people about me. And so that's how it, like, freelance really just started to pick up, is, you know, the art community really just came through. And after this, I kind of like got recommended by Nocturne to design sort of the theme, not the theme, I guess the theme, yeah, the theme for Nocturne. Which was honestly probably the best thing that I've ever done. I was so excited when they asked me to do something, because I've always wanted to work with Nocturne. And so when they asked me to design a visual for their theme, I was blown away. I was like, I'm down. And so this picture here is the theme. The theme is called Liminal. I think what liminal means, it's still, when I was doing it, I was kind of confused on what it means, but I think it means like the space between, and that's kind of what the visual is. You can see like, you're seeing the past and the present at the same time. Don't quote me on that. I don't 100% I'm sure to this day. I think you can go on Nocturne's website and they would tell you. And if you don't know what Nocturne is it's a art festival, art at night. It's probably one of my favorite festivals in Halifax. Everyone should go check it out every October. Please do. But yeah, that was a really fun project. That was like a really, like, this was like the moment when I was starting to see my design, my freelance really start to kind of get off the ground, really, and sort of take shape. And I was kind of nervous because I was sort of building a clientele at this point. And this was another project that I did for Unfinished Work podcast. You heard about that earlier. With Cordina and Kate McDonald. And it was just one of the, probably a really eye-opening experience for me being in that podcast. I was really nervous to be here. Like, I'm nervous being here. But I was nervous because I didn't really know why they wanted me to be on the podcast. And I was like, I didn't really see myself as an artist. I was so busy. I found myself being so busy doing, like, just doing freelance work, you know, one client to the next client, and just, you know, kind of just busy work. And I didn't really click to me that I was an artist. And so when they asked me to do it, I was very confused. I was like, I don't know. But after my friends talked to me and they're like, you know, are you, like, you're Black? Yeah. You're an artist? I guess so. Yeah. And so, like, you deserve to be on this podcast. I was like, you're right. I kind of do. And so I went on the podcast and I had, honestly, the best time ever doing that. I would highly recommend you go check it out. It was a very fun podcast to listen to. But yeah. That was this artwork here was really fun. Probably one of my favorites to design as well. And this was when I was in school. I was also working at Scotia Pharmacy, and I got to design this fun project. I kind of went to town on it. I didn't really have any, like, sort of direction for anything. I kind of was just coming home from school and I was just doing this. And I was just throwing things at them, and they were I appreciate them for really letting me just go to town on all their promotional material, because they were like, you do you, and I was like, perfect. And so that was a fun thing I got to do as well. And this is something I had to do for StFX. The lady in the picture is my aunt. And this was a very fun project to work on as well. I had a lot of fun doing, this one just because it was my aunt. And I really wanted to like make something special for her. And it was really a really good thing to do. And this was another thing that I got to work on. This was a logo for Train Yard General Store. If you haven't been there, it's in Dartmouth. Go check it out. My friend works there. And so this is where I get into what I kind of really want to get into. Like, I really would love to work in album cover artwork. I think that's like my dream, is to work with musical artists and make awesome artwork. And so this is an artist, his name is Aquaculture, and I used to go to school with him. And he asked me to make some art for him. And I was like ecstatic, because I had thought about it and I was always wanting to do that. And so that was a fun thing I got to do. I love playing with colors. I love doing illustrations and fun things like that. And it's always sort of a great time. And this is another thing that I got to work on with the Prismatic Arts Festival. They asked me to do something. They asked me to do their booklet. And I was sure, no problem. And so I got to work on some stuff with them as well. And these were some of my favorite panels from that as well. And we are at the end of my slide. But yeah, overall, I think, the journey getting from where I started to where I am today was, even though today I don't even really, I don't know. I don't know. It's been a weird journey getting from school, high school. I never really saw myself going in this direction, but as soon as I got into college, it kind of just made sense for me. I felt like I had so much doubt going into doing graphic design. To this day, I always have doubts about my worth and if I'm worthy of doing something like this and whatnot. And I just have such positive reinforcement from the arts community here. I have my friends to thank. I have everyone else to I am so thankful to the support that people give me. My mom, my family, everyone has just been so supportive of all the stuff that I've done over the years. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's just been a great time, and I've been having a great time talking with you all about it.